Discovering your buy box. So this is a little worksheet I put together. It's a work in progress, but I think the point is that think about this stuff before you buy it, because sometimes you'll get caught up in the heat of a battle, like something where there's a couple people that are looking to buy the business, and you throw your offer into the ring, and it gets accepted, right? And then you're kind of incentivized to just like keep going with it. And before you know it, you just bought this thing that doesn't really fit anything with that you've done before or your skill set, et cetera. Now you've got this asset you've got to maintain or take care of. And what happens if, like in one of the cases, the thing starts shrinking right away? What do you do? And some of these things are these questions in here are meant to preempt that. So why are you doing this? What's motivating you to buy a SaaS company? I know that some people say, okay, well, I'm a 0 to 1 guy. That's all I like to do. And some people are like, I'm not a 0 to 1 guy. I'm a 1 to 10 guy. But if you haven't done 1 to 10 before, you're not a 1 to 10 guy. You're just not a 0 to 1 guy. That's all we know so far. So just make sure that you're not biting off more than you can chew on your first one. Again, for us, we bought something for like $22,000 and we split it 3 ways. And that was a perfectly acceptable amount of money for me to lose completely learning how to do this. So again, let's get into why you want to buy a SaaS company at all. Is if SaaS isn't something that you've done before, buying one might be a nice way to do it, but I would partner. If you really haven't done anything with SaaS before, partner with somebody for your first one. You can always just spin up an LLC, do it with somebody else for your first one. You don't have to commit like I kind of did with XO to doing all of them with these other people, but you can at least do one and lower your risk a little bit. Next question, what is your primary goal? So I think it's important to understand if you're going to be taking money from the business or if really you can buy the thing, use the cash flow and just reinvest it back into growth and then hopefully sell the thing, in which case most of the money is going to come from the sale. Surprise, most of the money is going to come from the sale anyways. It's actually really difficult unless you're just a one-man band and your overhead's pretty low for you to take all the money and do all the work yourself. That's not how we operate. I mean, of course you could do it. Plenty of people do it. It's called solo founder, bootstrapping with one person, etc. But that's not how we operate, because we always thought about buying multiple businesses, never just one. Which is another question you could ask in here. Do you really just want to buy multiple businesses and have multiple different revenue streams, which is our goal? Or do you want to kind of own one asset that's like just one? Like this is just the one thing that you want to focus on. You want to focus on that one thing for some period of time and see how it goes, and then hopefully grow it and sell it for more later. Another question, what is your unfair advantage? So large social media audience, existing community, some kind of growth skills, industry knowledge. A classic example is there's 2 developers, they built this cool piece of tech. They have no idea how to sell it, but it just so happens to be that you've been a master salesperson for 10 years in this industry, and with a couple phone calls, you could triple the business because you know the exact right people to call. That might be an unfair advantage, and you could build a whole strategy around that. Jumping into pricing considerations, I think that it's important to, again, not get caught up when you're trying to like outbid somebody else and just stick to your guns. So put a number here and don't exceed it. Even if it's just for your first one, buy smaller maybe than you otherwise would have. We can talk about that in a second under risk and maybe even personal income needs, but I would try and start smaller if you've really never bought something before, because the first 3 months are really just a cluster of discovering things you didn't discover in diligence. I mean, there's always something. The market changes, etc. There's almost always something. So put a number down here, stick to it, and if something exceeds that, that's a really easy way for you to say no. We're trying to set up a series of filters in your head for you to quickly yes, no deals, because frankly, going through Acquire and all the other marketplaces, there's tons and tons of stuff on there. And so the easier that you can get to a no, I'm not interested, and kind of kill it, the better. So you can focus on the ones that actually make sense for you. Risk tolerance, this is also maybe strategy. Start small and build up, or buy a larger business first. A larger business, obviously a little bit more risk, but maybe not. Maybe they've been operating for 5 years. Maybe their churn rate is like, less than 10% annually. You could get comfortable with a larger business, and it would be enough cash to maybe be able to hire some help that you need. Or you might want to start small, do everything yourself. The risk that you're taking on is really product risk, right? So does the product have any kind of product market fit? And that's something that you can find. You can discover product market fit through a painful series of iterations, and it's generally pretty painful. And then you can also lose product market fit. So the business today might have product market fit with an initial customer base of 50 people that all came from Reddit, but actually there aren't any more on Reddit, and you need to go find another channel that works. And outside of Reddit, you found it very difficult, for example, to find new customers. So all these things are things to just keep in mind when you're thinking about risk. Personal income needs, does the business need to pay you? Ideally, that answer is no, frankly, because it's going to be difficult for you to take money from the business out as payment, but also try and hire other people to help you grow the business. Again, unless you're just a one-man band, you're going to want at least a little bit of extra cash flow. And you might want to go back into your purchase price and say, well, what do I want for working capital? So you buy a business for $100,000, but it might be nice to have $25,000 in the bank account that you've already earmarked for growth, so that you can have a little bit of a burn while you're trying to just get your feet under you, finding the right contractors if none came with the business. That's also another way that we do it. And it's quite nice to have a little bit of cash in the bank to be able to hire freelancers or agencies to help you execute on stuff. Can the business realistically support this after covering operational costs? So if you're trying to pay yourself, be extremely realistic about what those operating costs are. Because frankly, what we've seen is that even if a business, let's say, has two founders and they're not paying each other, or they're paying each other a minimal amount, there's something about those original founders that's going to be more efficient than you are. That's a safe assumption for you to make. Even if it ends up not being true, good for you. But generally speaking, what we've seen is that it's no surprise these founders found something because of some unique advantage they have, or some unique advantage they acquired by building that business out over a year or two. And assume that you're just going to be slightly more inefficient than they are at running that business. So skills match. Let's talk about some operational knowledge and some industries that you might have some experience in or feel confident about. So this one isn't a requirement for us in terms of us needing to have some past experience in the industry for us to be able to acquire something in it. So for example, we bought a company called WorkClout that does inspections on like physical goods. So one of the customers was a group that made engines, and they needed to physically inspect those engines on, like, think of a Jiffy Lube 100-point checklist. And they were doing that with, pencil and paper before, and there was like a nice mobile app and a workflow for them to be able to do those inspections, and that was the company. But we had no idea anything about that industry. And frankly, I still don't know a lot about that industry, but we were able to buy the business, double it, and then sell it back for about double what we bought it for. So again, it's not imperative that you have previous experience in the industry, but it is helpful, and it is going to be a disadvantage if you don't, and you have to spend the first 3 months not just learning the ins and out of that business and the new product and maybe the team, or at least contractors and the customers, but also if you hop on a call with a customer and you don't know jack shit about the industry, they're going to look at you like, I don't know if this guy is the right person for me to be doing business with. So caution on that, but not necessary for you to have previous experience. Technology stack, for those of you that are developers, we initially filtered based on the programming language that the software was written in. So for example, we didn't want to buy anything, and still don't want to buy anything that's in like PHP or Ruby on Rails. We just don't have the engineers to do it. And I personally, even though I'm technical, I don't have any interest in writing PHP, and I have no interest in learning Rails. I tried, I don't like it. So that's not something that we're going to buy. And we're not willing to rebuild anything anymore from scratch. So, I mean, I say that, but I'm sure at some point in our future something will require at least some partial rebuild. But generally speaking, we're trying not to buy things that are going to be operationally complex for us. And so if you as a developer know a few languages, or you're more comfortable in one versus the other, it's totally fine to filter based on that language. Same with frameworks, right? So like Angular is getting kind of old. Most everything is in React now. If something's in Angular and it's like Angular 1 or even Angular 2, that can be a deal breaker for us, just because we don't want to spend the dollars and the time to convert it to React, for example. Now, I would say, exception to this is if the business is coming with developers, or it's coming with some contractors that can do that work for you, or you have an outsource group already lined up that can do that work for you, I would just note that down as a risk, because it is a risk. But it might be an acceptable risk, particularly if you are not technical. then you have a little bit more flexibility because you're going to have to pay for somebody anyways. So it might be easier in that scenario to just find a developer that knows those languages and frameworks, and you can just hire them. A similar note on vertical SaaS. So just careful with vertical SaaS. They can sometimes require deep industry knowledge. Again, generally speaking, you can go acquire that deep industry knowledge. Maybe it takes 6 months, maybe it takes a year. But it is work, and it is kind of annoying to have to go and get deep industry knowledge in a new area while also trying to balance a brand new acquisition that can be just really a lot more time consuming than you might think. Here, market and customer match. This is really Indie Hacker 101 type stuff. List 3 markets that you genuinely are passionate about or curious about. Customer dynamic, job titles of people that you'd enjoy interacting with. This one I really underestimated, but the more time that you spend with these people, and you are going to be spending time with them, if you really just genuinely don't like them, and there are whole industry segments with people with job titles that generally it's like, oh man, not another one of these guys. For me, don't buy a business that has to interact with those people. It's going to make your life a little bit more difficult. And then another question on communities. Which communities related to your desired market or customer would you enjoy being a part of? So the idea here is that, again, just make sure that you're buying something that you actually, make sure you're buying something where you're going to be around people that you actually want to be around. Channel match. This one is, I think, really important. How do I say this? I don't care if people are spending money on Google Ads to grow. That's actually a great channel for us. But generally speaking, when we buy any business, I want them to have at least one channel that they've already experimented with, so that I don't have to go and figure this out. I can just keep going with that one channel, and I can say, oh, these guys were posting on LinkedIn once a week. I think I can do once a day, and maybe I'll throw in a webinar or two a month, and I think that can be our one growth channel to double the business. It can be as simple as that. Now, also be careful too. Sometimes the previous founders have some kind of unique advantage. So for example, we acquired a tool that does some stuff with LinkedIn. Those 2 gentlemen that built the original product had a pretty solid LinkedIn following, and that wasn't something that we're able to replicate. I have a bit of a following on LinkedIn, but my audience was not the right target market for this. So that was something that we, didn't quite flag when we were buying the business, and we definitely should have, because it was a unique advantage the founders had that we're not going to have anymore. So that's another case where the founders, in this case, in terms of marketing and growth, were more efficient than we were going to be and than we are at marketing this thing. And they could do it for cheaper, and they could do it faster, right? Every post they got 5 more customers for the business, and every time we posted, we maybe got 0.5, right? So it took a long time for us to build up those channels and those, and also switch strategies on how we acquire customers for that particular business. And that was something that I wish we could have flagged before we bought the business, because we lost a lot of time and a lot of money. Channel proficiency. So, there's not that many ways to do this stuff. So you can do content, SEO, paid ads, direct traffic. I think Alex Hormozi says you can reach out to people you don't know, reach out to people you know. And I forget, like ads or something like that. Well, ads is, I think, reaching out to people you don't know. Anyways, there's not that many ways to do this. There's not that many ways to grow. Of course, within content, within SEO, there's kind of a million varieties of these, but in terms of big umbrella stuff, there's only a couple. And so all this is to say that if you're like a wizard at paid ads, find something that you can grow through paid ads. It might be obvious, but I don't know. Sometimes, again, you're thinking about so many things when you're looking at these businesses that you forget some obvious stuff like this. So the very short version of this list, which I probably should have done at the beginning: customers, product, growth. On the customer side, who are they? Do you know them? Can you call them? It better be specific. Do you want to get to know them? If no to any of these, just move on. In an ideal world, and this is pretty cheeky but pretty cool, if you could find a new customer while you're in diligence for this business, go and test some of these things. Ideally, if you think, oh great, cold email, I can go cold email the shit out of this market segment and I can get growth. Go try that. During diligence, all you lose is some time. I mean, maybe some money if you're paying a contractor, but mostly time, right? Go try this and go try and grow the business before you buy it. It's locked under LOI, so there's nothing really to lose. The founders won't care because they'll get new customers if this works. This is something that is, I wish we had a little bit more rigor around. It's very, very difficult to actually execute on this. But in an ideal world, if you can somehow find a new customer before you buy the business to prove to yourself that you can grow it through the channels that you think you can, that's another way to just kind of stack the deck in your favor. Product, does it fulfill the promise to the customer? So a lot of you guys are looking at smaller businesses that are like below 10K of recurring revenue. If that's the case, a lot of times these are quite small surface area products, so maybe they just have one, what I call promise to the customer, or at least just one feature sometimes even. And those can be absolutely great businesses, but just make sure that the product actually does this. You'd be surprised at how many times you get into a product and, you know, it's 46 screens total and half of them don't work, or most of them don't provide any value. And don't also be shocked if the current founders have absolutely no idea about product stats and like what really moves a customer through the acquisition process once they sign up. A lot of these guys have like pretty minimal tracking. They might have an intuitive sense of it, but there's not going to be a lot of metrics typically on exactly what's going on inside the product. So this is going to be on you during diligence, but you better make sure it fulfills some kind of promise to the customer. And if it doesn't, move on. Don't take anything or don't buy anything that's a partial build or incomplete in some way. You should buy something that is complete. It's already fulfilling a promise to the customer. It should already have customers with some kind of churn rate through some kind of channel. Growth, where's it coming from? If no growth, move on. So again, see the above or the LinkedIn example above is something that actually happened to us where, again, those founders had a sizable audience, were able to grow quite organically through content on LinkedIn. And that was something that was really difficult for us to replicate. And ultimately, we ended up doing stuff much more through just like content on our blog and pushing that out through LinkedIn and Danny's LinkedIn, but it still didn't work quite as effectively as it did for those original founders. So just some caution on that, which again is why even paid ads is a great example, right? It's not tied to the previous founder's personal brand in any way. Or if it is, I mean, you know, you should be careful of that. Ideally, it's not, though. Ideally, the Google ads are running from the brand site. It's not tied to an individual's personality in any way. And that's something that you could take over and, you know, maybe put some fuel on there and see how far you can push that channel. So that's it. I hope this buy box worksheet is helpful. Let me know if you have any suggestions.